Welcome in YouTube. We are back. Finally feeling a little bit better, well enough to go ahead and continue reading the DOJ report. And we are going to get right back into it. So where we left off on, let's see, page 99. So that's what we're going to get back into. So room 109 was locked and believed to have occupants inside. Arredondo directed officers on the south side of the hallway to search for master keys to open the door so that they could evacuate and clear the room. He also communicated to the north side of the hallway via Constable Field that the plan was to evacuate the final room, 109, before any attempts to enter rooms 111 and 112 was made. On the south side, a stack composed of officers from multiple agencies entered the doorway, and Arredondo told them the same, specifically to wait before entering the room with the shooter until room 109 was evacuated. So this is actually a really good starting place because we are able to automatically go ahead and have a picture of what we're talking about. So right here on the, I don't know if y'all can see it. Let me see. It doesn't look like y'all can, unfortunately. But on the bottom side of the picture, right, you'll see the south entrance. That's where Arredondo and Adrian and Canales or Coronado and Page, that's where they're all out. Rooms 111 and 112 are about halfway up there. They're the ones that are labeled rooms entered at approximately 12:49:58. And so around that fire doors area in the middle, that is where that stack is forming. At approximately 12:12, dispatch advised over the radio that a child had called 911, stating they were in room 112 and said they were in a room full of victims. The communication was transmitted on both sides of the hallway and exterior of the building. Arredondo continued to insist that room 109 be cleared before any further effort to make entry into classrooms 111 and 112, even though he stated that he knew there were children in there around 1209. This direction was taken and accepted by some officers on each side of the hallway. Multiple sets of keys were tried on room 109 and apparently didn't work. Officers tried breaching with a pocket knife to no avail. Observing the unsuccessful attempts to breach rooms 109, at least one UCSO deputy suggested evacuating through the window for expediency, and that notion was rejected by Arredondo. Notably, another option to access room 109 would have been through the adjoining door in room 110, which Arredondo had cleared earlier on in this incident. That option was never explored. When the subject fired more shots at 12:21, Arredondo directed that room 109 be evacuated through the window. Children were evacuated from room 109, including one child struck in the nose by shrapnel, along with a teacher who had suffered a gunshot wound of the subject's barrage of gunfire. So somebody said early on to Arredondo, hey, let's just break out the window. He was like, nah, and then ended up breaking out the window. Also, they had connecting doors. If we scroll up real quick, we can see, just like with rooms 111 and 112, that 109 and 110 had a connecting door. So when they cleared 110, they easily could have went through that middle door to help clear room 109, but they didn't. Why? Because that's UValde. Responding officers spent 12 minutes from 12:09 to 12:21 searching for and trying keys on room 109 in order to evacuate, an effort that was eventually abandoned for a more expedient evacuation approach through the window. All of these efforts to negotiate with the subject to seek additional equipment or personnel and to evacuate other classrooms would arguably be appropriate for a lone barricaded subject. However, there were several factors that established that this remained an active shooter situation. The first on-scene responders heard gunfire inside the classrooms as they were arriving, and officers were injured by shrapnel. There were also confirmation of the likely presence of victims at 11:42 when officers on scene confirmed that classrooms 111 and 112 were in session. Soon after, a single shot was fired from inside classrooms 111 and 112 at approximately 11:44 a.m. Several officers were also made aware that there was an injured teacher inside the classroom at approximately 11:56. As law enforcement began evacuations of other classrooms around noon, there was a growing realization that many classrooms in the West Building were full of children. Then at 12:12 p.m., dispatch broadcasted over the radio that a child called 911 and said they were in a room full of victims. This communication was transmitted to law enforcement radios on both sides of the hallway. By this time at 12:12 p.m., there were multiple stimuli occurring in the presence of multiple officers, indicating it was an active shooter incident, including shots fired from inside the classroom, an officer on scene indicating his wife is inside one of the classrooms and shot, and confirmation over the radio that class was in session. Like, here's the thing, too. It was multiple guys. Maybe that's what Nico LaHood was talking about. Every time he said multiple during the trial. Remember, y'all would hear it all the time. It was multiple gunshots. I think it was because there were multiple stimuli occurring in the presence of multiple officers. That might be what he was talking about, because we never figured it out, right? Like we never fucking figured it out. The stacks in the hallway and entry into rooms 111 and 112 at 12:21 p.m., 49 minutes after the first officers arrived on scene, 4 shots were fired from inside the classroom. The events and information at that point: shots fired, casings in the hallway, classes being evacuated with children and teachers present, 911 calls from inside room 112, provide further confirmation that this was an active shooter event. Although there was still communication over radio and through word of mouth among law enforcement responders on and off scene about the subject being barricaded, it was evident at this point that the officers in the hallway had stopped treating the incident like a barricade situation and were now actively seeking a way in, demonstrating for the first time since the initial retreat a sense of urgency to breach the doors to classrooms 111 and 112 and to stop the shooter. Entry, however, did not occur for 29 more minutes. So they're saying, like, at 12:21, that's when they started trying. But it took them another 29 more fucking minutes instead of them walking over, grabbing the fucking doorknob, twisting it, and fucking going in. Ooh. It's already pissing me off. Already. Okay. Where were we? Okay. More than one survivor recalled hearing someone state, "Say help if you need help." And when a child tried to say help, the subject re-entered room 112 from room 111 and shot the victim. The adult survivor from room 111 also provided a similar account and said that the subject also shot the victim in the back around this time. Some survivors thought it was the subject, while others heard the statement from the hallway. The CIR team could not determine if the 4 shots at 12:21 p.m. were connected to the recounted events from the survivors, whether the statement was made by law enforcement in the hallway or the subject. The recounted stories reinforced the need for an immediate entry into the classroom, as well as a caution about asking children and staff to speak up in the same space as a deadly threat. Officers positioned at the T intersection of the north side of the hallway responded to the 4 shots fired from inside the classroom at 12:21 p.m. The first 4 officers moved forward in what was initially a modified T formation, followed by a long single file of 7 additional officers down the hallway. 2 shields were present in the large stack, while 1 was left behind. As the stack of officers approached the door, they stopped near the janitor's closet adjacent to classrooms 111 and 112. They presumed the classroom doors were locked. The U.S. Customs and Border Protection, BORTAC commander on scene, received a set of supposed master keys shortly after. After consulting with an officer in the hallway who had a map of the building, which was later found to be lacking sufficient detail, the BORTAC commander tested the keys on the janitor's closet door next to room 112 and learned that they did not work. This set off a search for more keys, including by Arredondo on the south side of the hallway. After this, there was a period of about 10 minutes in which there appeared to be stagnation in the hallway. They were just sitting around not doing a fucking thing. At 12:32 p.m., the BORTAC commander left the hallway to retrieve breaching tools as an alternative option to breach the presumed to be locked door. The commander realized that they were going to need a sledgehammer with a Halligan bar, and the game warden asked the UCSO deputy to go and retrieve it from their truck, which they did. However, shortly after, Texas Ranger 1 found the BORTAC commander and handed him a set of keys. They were tested on the janitor's closet and worked. Now, real quick, before we go any further, TikTok likes to fuck with me and might try to take me down. I don't know what images they are going to be showing. I'm sure that they will be firearms present. So if that happens, be sure to follow over at Cross0524 on the tube in case we get taken down. Also, you can see a whole lot better over there. This is the stack that they were talking about. I don't know. I don't see how it was a T formation, but it looks more like a 7 with a tail, I guess. But that is what they're talking about. They yelled and yelled and yelled for shields, and you see one in the bottom left-hand corner. Just sitting there. Obviously, they didn't need shields as much as they said that they needed shields, right? And this is what a Halligan bar looks like. I don't know if we've ever shown that or anything, but this is what the Halligan tool looks like. Or as Nico LaHood calls it, the hooligan. Well, I don't know why he calls it that. But around this time, more BORTAC members arrived, including a sniper. There was a pause in making entries so that they could see if the sniper could get a visual on and take out the subject. A drone operated by a DPS trooper was also used to try to see into the room. Due to lockdown protocols, which call for windows to be covered, neither the sniper nor the drone were successful. Here's my question, okay? Here's my question. And I've literally thought about this. Why didn't they break out those windows? Cause a distraction from like if they were that worried, right? Why not go outside, break the classrooms, break the windows to rooms 111 and 112, right? They don't have to shoot it. They hammer whatever they were using to break the other windows. They break the windows. Wouldn't that, if that was the case, right? And they were trying to do that, then the shooter would have came and looked that way. That way they could have breached from the other fucking side. Like it takes 2 seconds of just fucking thinking to see many possibilities that could have, should have, and would have happened had there been anybody there, and all 376 of them that actually had a fucking brain. At this point, I don't know how they function. Like, like they're the scarecrow from the Wizard of Oz. Like I can literally hear them singing right there. If I only had a brain, because that is all 376 ranging from all over Texas. Obviously, Texas cops are stupid. And this is the one and only time I'm seeing that they had a drone there. I haven't seen that in any other fucking report. I haven't seen that in any footage. I haven't seen that in anywhere. So that's wild. I would love to see the information in which they're talking about that. But fuck it. All right. At approximately 12:48, the BORTAC commander put the keys inside the door to room 111, turned it, and pulled the door open towards him. The entry team was composed of 3 BORTAC members, a Border Patrol Search, Trauma, and Rescue member, and deputies from 2 local sheriff's office departments, UValde and Zavala counties. There was 1 shield in the stack, which had been provided by the U.S. Marshal Service and was rifle rated. As the entry team prepared to move in, the door began to swing back closed. 1 member attempted to move a chair against the door to prop it open, but the door was too heavy, and eventually another member of the entry team simply held it open as they made entry. According to the officers who witnessed the entry team was in the doorway for at least 1 minute while they repositioned themselves and held the door open. Members of the entry team reported an eerie silence as they entered the darkened room. An eerie silence as you walked in the darkened room. I wonder why. I wonder why there's an eerie silence. Oh, that's right, because there's 21 fucking people dead. Numerous others that were fucking injured. Maybe that's why it was eerily quiet, because what you heard was your lack of ability to fucking do anything. What you heard was children gone. What you heard was your own fucking cowardice shined like a bright light right back at you. That's what you heard. That is what you heard. Motherfuck. Like, it's, holy fuck. According to the officers who witnessed the entry, the entry team was in the doorway, right? When we were part of the entry team, we heard an eerie silence as we walked in the room. I don't know why. There was 21 kids murdered, but, it was eerily silent. Like, shut the fuck up. Holy fuck. Got some dumb motherfuckers on this police force, I swear. According to officers who witnessed the entry team was in the doorway for at least 1 minute while they repositioned themselves and held the door open. Oh, holy fuck. I'm seeing it now. They just opened the door and they're like, what do we do? I'm going to hold the door. You go ahead. No, you go ahead. No, you go ahead. Like, are you fucking kidding me? Are you fucking... Oh. Okay. Inside, they were surprised to learn that the 2 rooms were connected. A second entry team was initially stacked up on the opposite side, outside of the door to room 112. However, when the first stack entered and saw the adjoining door was open, realizing it was one big room, the second entry team was called off due to concerns over crossfire. They began clearing corners inside the classroom when suddenly the shooter emerged from inside a closet. Gunfire erupted at approximately 12:50 p.m. The shooter was killed. 1 BORTAC member suffered a gunshot wound and a graze wound. Now, here's the thing. And this just dawned on me right now. And it's fucking with my head. They claim that they didn't know that the rooms were connected, correct? Like, that's the claim, right? My problem with that is, why did they just... Okay. They said that they don't know that rooms 111 and 112 are connected, right? Now, they know, 100% they know that there is children and a teacher in room 112, right? But they knew also that he went through room 111 because of all the bullets and everything. Like they knew that's the one that he entered. How do they think he magically got to room 112 from 111 if there was no door connecting the two? How? They knew that the shooter was in the room with those kids and the teacher. But they also knew that he was in 111. So how the fuck are you going to sit here and tell me that they didn't know that it was connected between the two if they're like the shooters in 111 and in 112? Like honestly, how the fuck did they possibly think like he was just moving between the classrooms? I don't understand it. Oh, holy fuck. Like, did they think like he walked back out of room 111, locked the door back, and then unlocked 112, and then walked in, and then locked it back, and then went out 112, locked it back, and then unlocked room 111, and then locked it back, and then went in, like, all while they were outside? Like, it makes no sense at all. It makes no sense at all. Okay. They began clearing. Okay. The shooter was killed. Okay, we read that. Within seconds, there were more officers and law enforcement medics entering the room, attempting to help triage and evacuate the room. No. I will not fucking believe that. I will not believe that. Why you see them rushing in is because they weren't scared anymore. Somebody finally took out the shooter. Now they wanted to act tough. Like, we literally watched Unimaginable, right? We see the footage. They didn't go in until all the gunfire stopped. That's when everybody got all hyped up. It was like, oh, let's do our job now. And ran in. They just wanted to see the dead kids. This is all that happened. That's it. That's all those cops wanted to do. Because why all of a sudden are you going to act like, oh, I'm big and bad now? Motherfucker, why weren't you big and bad 77 minutes prior? Among the shooter, let me see. Yeah, inside were 33 children and 3 teachers. Among the shooters' carnage were traumatized, injured, and dead victims. The shooter, armed with an AR-15 style rifle and donning body armor, was killed and lying near the closet he emerged from. Now we're going to move on to equipment use and deployments, and this is equipment for active shooter response. Let me see here. Before we move on, we're going to run, we'll be right back for just a few seconds. If you're here right now, it means you care. And if you care, don't just watch. Stay connected. Follow me on every platform you see on the screen. That's how this work spreads when the algorithm tries to bury it. If you're able to support financially, donations are open. Every dollar goes directly into this work, into research, into content, into pressure. No corporate sponsors, no gun money, no silence. If you want to go deeper, become a member at brettcross.com. Membership isn't just support, it's access. Members get early content, behind-the-scenes context, and member-only merch. You get the why, not just the headline. You help decide what we build next, and you make sure this work stays independent and loud. You also get access to our Discord, a community of others who keep backing truth over comfort, who choose action over thoughts and prayers, and who help keep this space alive. If you can donate, donate. If you can't, follow and share. If you want to be a part of the inner circle, join at brettcross.com. Either way, thank you for being here. Like always, we got to be consistent. And welcome back. I had to get a drink real quick, so I do appreciate y'all sitting with me during that. All right, let's see. Let's get back to it. Equipment use and deployments. Equipment for active shooter response. There is no specific list of what tools and equipment an agency or officer should have to prepare for active shooter incidents. The CIR team focused their analysis on radio, shield, CS gas, and breaching tools, as each were part of the decision-making calculus in the law enforcement response to Robb Elementary. It's important to note that the specific tools and equipment needed can vary based on agency policies, local regulations, and the nature of the response. Regular training, maintenance, and updates to equipment are crucial to ensure effectiveness and readiness during an active shooter incident. Additionally, depending on the agency's size and geographical jurisdiction, access to tactical gear and tools, if not assigned per capita, should be mobile available. Feel like there's a grammar issue in there, and it's fucking with me. The subsections that follow provide additional detail on some of those key forms of equipment. I think it means like they should be readily available inside of a motor vehicle is what that last sentence said, or at least I think that's what it meant. Radios serve a crucial role in facilitating communications among first responders during a crisis event, especially when there is a large convergence of multiple agencies on scene. Radios need to have not only the technological capability to perform, but also be operated appropriately by the end users. First responders must ensure that their communication is clear, succinct, and in commonly understood terminology. Situation updates should be provided routinely as the nature of the incident evolves, and those on scene and en route need to be aware of the changing conditions. At the same time, first responders must adopt a minimalist approach to not overload the communication system, which can lead to the most important pieces of information being missed. Shields. According to the FBI's 20-year review of active shooter incidents, from 2000 to 2019, approximately 43% of the 333 identified active shooter incidents included the presence of a long gun rifle by the subject. A tactical ballistic shield capable of absorbing impact from rifle rounds serves as an invaluable tool for law enforcement officers, providing an added layer of safety in high-risk situations. Given active shooter response protocols require immediate action, oftentimes from officers in a patrol function. In many law enforcement agencies throughout the U.S., it is unlikely that a responding officer will be able to respond with a shield. If a shield is available, they must be used in accordance with tactical training in order to be effective. However, an officer should never wait for the arrival of a shield before moving towards the threat to stop the shooter. And this is something that we're going to hear a lot. I know that we've heard it a lot already, and we're going to continue to hear it a lot. The training says, stop the shooting, stop the killing. That's it. Like, over and over. That's what it fucking says. That's what it is. So for them to be like, oh, I didn't know time was on our side, that is bullshit, because active shooter training tells you since the year fucking 2000, right? Columbine happened April 20th, 1999. Since the year 2000, that training has been in effect. At the time of UValde, that was 22 years later. And you're telling me that you didn't know. Shut the fuck up. Although many officers may receive some exposure to the... Proper training of the use of a shield is essential for an officer to master the maneuvering, tactical positioning, proper handling, firearm position, and accurate fire and transitioning of the shield. Although many officers may receive some exposure to the use of a shield at academy training, it is typically with a non-ballistic rated shield, typically used for crowd control. Furthermore, they are often not retrained on their use unless they are for specialized training such as SWAT. Without SWAT experience, most patrol officers will not have training on use of a shield in a tactical situation such as an active shooter. But hold on, why the fuck does that even matter when we go back and we read, however, an officer should never wait for the arrival of a shield before moving towards the threat to stop the shooter. I don't give a fuck if they're not trained with the shield, a shield that they've never used, and then it's not even needed to go in there and do what needs to be done. That is the one part about this, and I've seen it more and more this time that we're reading it and going through it, is that the DOJ seems to be making excuses. A lot of excuses. Oh, well, these officers aren't trained for it. Yeah, but you're contradicting yourself because just a few sentences before, you're like, yo, don't wait on the fucking shield. Go in and do something. And so, like, that's really fucking irritating me this time around when it comes to this DOJ report. CS gas. The deployment of chemical agents such as CS gas, which is commonly known as tear gas, is a significant law enforcement action that must be carefully assessed before use. Here's my problem with that, though. We know that cops know how to use it. Fucking turn on the news and you'll see cops using it. They know how to put their masks on. They know how to use it. So you're telling me that they, like, out of all the places, just UValde was like, no, we don't know how to use it. They didn't even know. Like, come on. Come the fuck on. You know those cops were stacked with that fucking tear gas. Any chance that they could use it on fucking brown kids, you know they were going to. And all of a sudden, they don't know how to use it? Shut up. Some factors that must be considered include the severity of the situation and danger posed by the subject, the presence and impact on civilians, and particularly elderly children and with others with potentially aggravating health conditions. So why are they doing it so much, so frequently, and so easily in Minnesota? You know how many times my buddy Johnny has been hit with fucking tear gas lately? Like, are you fucking kidding me? The presence and impact on civilians. That seems to go out the window. Yeah, using it in Austin. Exactly. Like, that's the thing. Like, quit this shit. Fucking ACAB. Holy fuck. Alternative options, the physical structure of the room, including size, dimensions, exits, and ventilation, the likelihood of successfully bringing the incident to a final resolution as a result of deploying the gas, and availability of medical assets to treat anyone adversely affected in weather conditions, which can cause the gas to disperse to areas outside of the intended target. Equipment used at Rob. Responders at Rob used or considered using several of the types of equipment described above to varying degrees. Radios. One particular challenge in the response was the fact that Arredondo, the de facto on-scene commander, had tossed his radios to the ground while running to the scene and during the incident. Neither requested nor was supplied another radio to facilitate communication. In lieu of radios, he communicated with Phils on the other side of the hallway via cell phone. According to Arredondo, he tossed his radios because he wanted his hands to be free and that he knew the radios did not work inside the building. Here's my problem with that once again. I want my hands to be free. Well, one, what do you want your hands to be free for? You didn't do anything. Two, like, we do know why you wanted your hand free, because you wanted to be on your fucking phone. Right? Like, that's it. You're fucking... Your hands weren't too busy with right here and trying to find fucking keys. You didn't want your hands busy, but You know? What? And not just that, Arredondo. But you don't have to pull up your fucking radio from its holster anyways. You don't. Because most cops, right? Or any, like, fuck, I even use them, and I worked on fucking wind turbines for forever, have an attachment that plugs directly into the fucking radio so that you can clip it right here so that you can just press the button. And you're telling me that you didn't even need that? Holy fuck. Throughout the incident response at Robb Elementary, first responders had intermittent challenges with radio transmission inside the building. The building was generally known to have such issues by UCISD PD officers and UCISD staff. The PD officers would typically carry two radios, one specific for the school district and the other to communicate with outside agencies, mainly UPD. The school district radio was a two-way radio for communication with other UCISD PD officers while inside buildings or around the campuses. These radios worked relatively well inside the building. The other radios for communicating with external law enforcement agencies did not work well inside the building, as they were designed to be most effective in open spaces, common terrain in the 9 rural counties in South Texas. In the CIR team's review of body-worn camera and CCTV footage, the team observed radios failing to transmit or receive communications repeatedly inside the building. However, it was not a total failure, and for much of the incident, there were radio communications being transmitted to one or more officers who were inside the hallway, on both sides, and just outside the west and south doors, such as by UPD Acting Chief Mariano Pargas and others. Shields. Now we're going to get to the shields. Yeah, y'all remember these shields? These shields that they were just sitting behind and just waiting behind? Huh. At Robb Elementary, officers on scene called out a need for shields early on. The first official call out over the radio for shields came at approximately 11:39, which coincides with the time at which officers in the hallway transitioned to a barricaded subject response and the initial call outs over the radio that the subject was contained or barricaded. Thank you, Coronado, for starting that bullshit. The first shield arrived at the T intersection of the hallway at approximately 11:52 a.m. A second and third arrived at the T intersection 12 minutes later at 12:04 p.m. None of the shields were rifle rated. At 12:11 p.m., the fire marshal took one of the 3 shields at the T intersection to bring over to the south side of the hallway, which did not have any shields at the time. At 12:21 p.m., just before shots were fired from inside classrooms 111 and 112, the first rifle-rated shield arrived at the T intersection, brought in by a United States Marshal Service deputy. The 12:21 p.m., the stack moved forward with one of the 2 ballistic shields and the USMS rifle-rated shield. At approximately 12:30 p.m., an additional rifle-rated shield arrived on the south side of the hallway, also from the marshals. Over the course of the response, 5 shields, 2 of which were rifle-rated, were brought into the west building. At the time they made entry into classrooms 111 and 112, the entry team used one of the ballistic-rated shields from the marshals on the north side of the hallway. The shield was handled by an operator with BORTAC. This was entirely appropriate, given that the shield was available on scene at the time the stack was formed and entry had been made. Throughout the incident response, officers in the hallway often referenced a need for shields, even at one point saying that they were waiting for shields. Others noted the inadequacy of the non-rifle rated shields in addressing the threat. The CIR team cannot say that the officers were representative of the overall response, nor can the team say that the entry into room 111 and 112 was held up because officers were awaiting the arrival of shields. Yeah, they were. Come on now. The CIR's team analysis indicates that the long pause in entry up until 12:21 p.m. was largely due to the evacuation of the building and not waiting for shields. Nevertheless, the CIR team concludes our analysis of the use of shields with the following. In an active shooter response, officers should never wait for the arrival of a shield or any other ancillary equipment before moving towards the threat to stop the shooter. So these are the shield locations at 1221. On the north side hallway in the T intersection, there were 2 ballistic shields, one not rifle rated and one that was rifle rated. On the south side, there was 1 ballistic shield that was not rifle rated. Then at 1247, you had 2 ballistic shields not rifle rated and 1 rifle rated shield on the north side hallway T intersection. And on the south side hallway, you had 1 ballistic shield and 1 rifle rated shield, which is very crazy because, like, once again, you're telling me that they weren't waiting for the shield, because from 1221 to 1247, the only thing that changed was a ballistic shield was added. CS gas. At approximately 12:14 p.m., UPD Officer 4 brought CS gas canisters near the T intersection, with several gas masks arriving shortly after. Officers began to formulate a plan for using the gas, which was to drop the canisters in through the classroom window. This plan persisted through 12:21 p.m., shots fired, as they simultaneously were waiting for the master keys. It's not clear what time the use of gas was called off, but ultimately it was on account of children being in the classroom. Oh, so once again, they knew that there were kids in the classroom? I thought they didn't know. Like, y'all have got to be fucking consistent. Either it was known or it wasn't known. But the reason that the gas was called off was because there were kids in the room. So now you're admitting there were kids in the room, that you knew that there were kids in the room, and you still did fucking nothing. Chemical agents are intended to be utilized primarily for a barricaded subject situation or for the execution of a search warrant with the intent of overloading the subject's motor sensory skills, as well as to create an element of surprise that offers a tactically advantageous position. However, it is an unconventional risk to utilize chemical agents during an active shooter situation or in an environment with a significant number of victims, in particularly a school setting. This dispersion of gas in this incident would have been a tactical flaw, which would have further compromised the officer's response. The decision to ultimately call off the use of gas was no doubt a judicious one. Breaching tools. On both sides of the hallway, the primary mode of entering classrooms that were either known or presumed to be locked was with master keys. No breaching tools were used to enter any rooms in the west building. Although the doors to rooms 111 and 112 were presumed to be locked, our analysis of video and radio communications does not indicate any request for breaching tools until approximately 12:49 p.m., 43 minutes after the first on scene. And that request was in reference to breaching the door to room 109, which officers on the south side of the hallway were attempting to evacuate. At that time, UPD Sergeant 1 asked the question of the hallway full of about 12 officers from at least 3 different agencies, and none of them indicated that they had breaching tools. Eventually, the room was evacuated via the window. They never even tried. They're like, oh, it's locked. And yet, they never even tried with the fucking breaching tools. They never once tried. Let's do it on a room where the threat's not at, where children are not, like, effectively dying. We're going to try it on a room that's further the fuck away. That is what UPD and all of the state of Texas thinks. Not even the state of Texas. There were U.S. Marshals there. There still U.S. Marshals there. And nothing. Let's not use the fucking tools that are designed to make entry Let's wait on fucking master keys. Make it make fucking sense. On the north side of the hallway, the BORTAC commander went to retrieve his breaching tools at 12:32 p.m. After one set of master keys did not work, and while waiting for a new set, eventually the new set of keys arrived, were tested on the janitor's closet, and then eventually used to open the door to classrooms 111 and 112. As stated previously in this report, whether the door was in fact locked is unknown. However, the fact that the shooter had entered one of the classroom doors indicates that it was unlocked at that time and would have likely remained unlocked. Yep. We're already to the observations and shit. Let me see. I think they redo this, and I think they go through the recommendations and observations. Hold on real quick. We're going to remember 109. But let's pull this up real quick because I believe that they have a whole fucking... I think there's a whole chapter that's just on observations, and which is the same shit over and over again. And I would really hate to waste everybody's time by doing something that is done multiple times. That's what's really crazy about this one. Let me see here. If not, we'll read through it, obviously. I just want to make sure that we're not going to go through and do everything twice. Maybe not. I thought that there fucking was. One second. The fuck just happened? Give me a second. I don't know why the fuck it just did that. Yeah, the shit just shut down on me for some fucking reason. I was in the middle of looking to see. 142. All right. Observations, recommendations. Yeah, see, so it goes through on page 447. Does the same... Hold on. Yeah. So we'll go through all the observations together in one day. So we'll just skip over that and go on to the next section of this. All right. Before we get on to chapter 3, we're going to take a quick, 45-second break. I appreciate y'all, and we'll be right back.
If you're here right now, it means you care. And if you care, don't just watch. Stay connected. Follow me on every platform you see on screen. That's how this work spreads when the algorithm tries to bury it. If you're able to support financially, donations are open. Every dollar goes directly into this work, into research, into content, into pressure. No corporate sponsors, no gun money, no silence. If you want to go deeper, become a member at brettcross.com. Membership isn't just support, it's access. Members get early content, behind-the-scenes context, and member-only merch. You get the why, not just the headline. You help decide what we build next, and you make sure this work stays independent and loud. You also get access to our Discord, a community of others who keep backing truth over comfort, who choose action over thoughts and prayers, and who help keep this space alive. If you donate. If you can't, follow and share. If you want to be a part of the inner circle, join at brettcross.com. Either way, thank you for being here. Like always, we gotta be consistent.
I appreciate y'all staying through here. Now, I'm going to leave it up to y'all tonight, guys. Do y'all want to continue reading? So we've been reading for the past hour. Do y'all want to continue reading, or do y'all want to do something else? I'm going to let y'all decide, and then whatever y'all choose, we'll do. All right. I want to make sure. Here's the thing, though, right? And I've been thinking about this because I can keep reading. My thought is this: are we going to retain it if we just continue reading? Though I want everybody to be able to sit and listen, or sit and understand and really grasp what happened previously. You know what I'm saying? Need to be able to digest it. So I think what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and end the tube. We'll all digest it. Tomorrow we'll start on chapter 3 and read through all of chapter 3. So YouTube, thank you for hanging out. We'll be back tomorrow, 6:30 p.m. Central Standard Time, to continue reading on chapter 3 of the DOJ report on UValde. I appreciate it.